Greetings and welcome, my friends. It's Carrie at holisticspsychic.com and Soul Star Healing Arts Center in Sedona, Arizona. Today we're taking a look at the energies shaping up cosmically, astrologically around the upcoming new moon happening in the sign of Taurus. Here in Sedona, the new moon happens on April 27th at 12:30 p.m. and that would be the same as Pacific time, so make your adjustment for your location on the planet. Today we're taking a look at what the energies are, what it means for you, and how you can best work with the energies to support whatever your personal goals are in your life right now. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome back, sweet friends, and if you happen to be new here, my name is Carrie Konyha. I'm a longtime professional psychic reader, shamanic energy healing practitioner, and astrologer here in Sedona, Arizona, in addition to the other videos and playlists I have here on my channel that encompass themes such as developing intuition, empowerment for empaths, personal growth empowerment practices. I also come on every other week and share insights about the astrology that's connected to the new moon and full moon, just to give you a little bit of an energetic frame to be syncing up to and working within in regard to your own personal growth goals. So here we go. So the new moon is happening in the sign of Taurus. And so the first thing that I want to say here, those of you who follow my channel know that I love integrating the wisdom of the tarot along with the astrology. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here is the major arcana tarot card that relates to Venus, the planet Venus, because Venus is the ruler of this new moon, because Venus is the planet that rules Taurus. And so with this, we automatically have themes connected to self-love, beauty, harmony, balance, self-nurturing, self-nourishing. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that the energies have been intense. I'm feeling it too. There's very much this sort of kind of pull in opposite direction or push-pull energy going on that does seem to be a little bit rattling to the nervous system, and we're going to take a look at why that part is happening. But what we're going to talk about is what the astrology says and what the tarot says about the best way forward in working with these energies. Let's talk about the astrology here on this overarching big picture level. One thing I'm noticing as I'm looking at the chart here is that there's a dominance of fixed energy. That's a part of this push-pull energy that we feel. And for those of you who don't know what that means yet, all of the zodiac signs are categorized into modalities or modes called cardinal, mutable, and fixed. The cardinal signs are the signs that happen at the beginning of each season. The fixed are the signs that happen in the middle of each season, which we are in the middle of spring right now. And the mutable signs are at the end of each season. And each one of those has a unique energy signature to them. The fixed signs are enduring, they're reliable, they're steadfast, but on the challenge energy, it can be like a little bit too set in our ways. And so that's a part of the push-pull energy that we have right now. There's a part of us that is definitely feeling compelled to grow into new chapters of experiences in our life, and that's because of the astrology. But at another level, there's a part of us that is comfortable and set in our ways. Fortunately, we have some energies that are helping us with that. So Taurus energy encompasses themes that are connected to our self-love, our value, meaning our core life values. It's connected to what brings us comfort in life. And because it is connected to Venus, there's a creativity element as well. And I can tell you right now that creativity in the way of imagination, innovation, visualization, being in your inner visionary and dreamer self is a really constructive energy to be embodying right now. And that's because this moon cycle, this lunar cycle, in accordance to sacred feminine indigenous wisdom teachings, is connected to awakening the visionary and the dreamer within you as a practice that enables you to access the doorway of illumination that leads to higher awareness, which is what the theme is for this particular, the lunar cycle that happens in April. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but let me backtrack a little bit and talk a little bit about all these things that are still happening in the sign of Pisces. Let's remember that Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So although Pisces represents the unseen dimensions of life, our connection to the great mystery, if you will, it's our deep unconscious self, it's our intuition, and on one level, our creativity. It also can be connected to unconscious self undoing. And it's connected to endings because it's the last sign of the zodiac. So we have this lineup of planets going on right now that are in Pisces, planets in points, I should say, if we include the north node of the moon. So we have the north node of the moon, which is our collective theme of our collective evolutionary journey right now, that is conjunct Saturn, the planet of self-discipline, responsibility, conjunct with Venus, the planet of love, harmony, beauty, balance, and also conjunct Neptune, which just went into Aries about 2 weeks ago. And that's a huge shift that a lot of us have been talking about, because it's like a big generational type shift. It's going to be in Aries now until 2039. I talked about in the past few videos about how that's the archetype of the spiritual warrior. So one of the energies that we can access within ourselves is really tapping into what you personally feel guided to embrace in the realm of what your deeper passions, enthusiasms, drive, and sense of meaning and purpose is. Now, that part is connected to Neptune in Aries. However, when we look at the energies of the new moon itself, Taurus is also earth energy, so it's manifestation energy ultimately. And because it's connected to Venus, it also embraces archetypes of the sacred feminine, which we're going to talk about that part a little bit more in a moment. But let me remind us of this. Each new moon is the best time of each month throughout the year to establish intentions for yourself. And I'm really meaning the power of your intent. The power of your intent. The word intent is a little bit more deliberate than the word intention. The word intention oftentimes can be used to mean, well, I'm intending to do this, but I may or may not actually get to it. Where the word intent, shamanically, represents, this is how I'm committing to channeling the energy of my will and focus. And that's what we're talking about here with each new moon, the power of your intent. Each new moon is an opportunity to renew your commitment to the power of your intent, what you're intending to streamline your energy towards. The sun and the moon are in the first decan of Taurus, meaning in the first 10 degrees of Taurus. They're both literally at 7 degrees at the moment of the new moon. That decan is relating to the Five of Pentacles tarot card. Now I'm going to say this because there's a few other fives coming into the picture here. So in numerology and in the tarot, the number 5 represents innovation, creativity, imagination. When fives show up, it typically indicates that reality as we know it is less loosely structured than usual, which allows a space for us to consciously co-create using the power of our imagination, our innovation, and our inventiveness. It's connected to creativity. So the Five of Pentacles card in and of itself typically is a representation of lack consciousness or the fear of lack, which can lead to different levels of despair, ranging from financial problems, illnesses, all kinds of things in that spectrum. So that's the challenge, the unconscious challenge aspect that's showing up to heal collectively. Where have we been buying into lack consciousness on any level? It doesn't have to be just lack of finances. It can be lack of love, lack of health, lack of creative inspiration, lack of mental stimulation. Where have we been buying into that energy? And the way forward ultimately is revealed through the energy of the new moon itself, which again is embracing self-love, harmony, balance, beauty, and the archetype of the Empress. The Empress on one level is like the archetype of Mother Nature and all of its abundance and plenty. In fact, the Empress card is always depicted as being pregnant as a part of the representation of bounty, abundance, fertility, affluence in life. So making it a mindfulness practice to embody that energy is the way forward through these kind of glitchy times that are happening now. Now I'm going to talk about what's opposite of the sun and the moon right now, which is a point that is referred to as Black Moon Lilith. This point is connected to the nodes of the moon. Some of you might not know this, but the moon does not orbit around the earth in a perfect uniform circle. It's more oblong. So there's times of the year where the moon is closer to the earth and times when it's farther away. So that farthest away point that the moon gets from the earth is what is referred to the point of Black Moon Lilith. And that point has to do with our deep unconscious desires that we may consider to be taboo. So it's very linked to our shadow self, and it's very linked especially to the shadow feminine. All of the things that are linked to myths of taboo regarding the sacred feminine. So we have this Venus ruling the sun and the moon, which is sacred feminine energy. We can say the light component of the sacred feminine, opposite of the shadow component of the sacred feminine. And in shamanic astrology, the oppositions are considered to be dynamic polarity. And so this is a time, if you really want to dive deep into yourself and you're really feeling ready to shift into this full potential higher timeline that ultimately is what we're being guided into, we have to be willing to notice what the shadow components are. Where are we not allowing ourselves to notice what our deep unconscious desires are? And literally use the word desire, right? Because that brings in more of that depth of soulful feeling quality. I'm just going to use a hypothetical example. A lot of what we've been going through is connected to endings and beginnings of relationships. And that's because of what's been going on with the eclipses that we just had. I don't want to go into a whole repeat of that, but you can look at my past few videos to get info about that. So my example I'm using here, for people who are really wanting to manifest love, do you think that them being in denial of what they deeply desire in relationship will help them to manifest what they do desire if they're ignoring or in denial about what they desire? So you see my point. Being willing to understand, what do I deeply desire? When your desires are coming from more of a soul-centered space and not that feeling of lack that is connected with the Five of Pentacles and ultimately connected to our woundedness, the desires that are soul-centered are desires that are connected to ultimately what is a part of our deeper meaning and purpose, a part of what we're meant to experience while we're here on this earth. So embracing them, bringing them out of the shadow, especially because Black Moon Lilith is in Scorpio, which is the energy of metaphoric cycles of death and rebirth. Okay, so we all are having some metaphoric rebirth where we've recently let go of some things, whether it's literal people, situations, or we've let go of beliefs or thought processes or feelings that aren't serving us. There's been some type of letting go. Notice that within you. I want to know, where do you recognize that you've had a letting go process over this past month, which was the eclipses that we had? And how are you feeling ready to rebirth? Because this new moon here is giving us a big boost in that direction. We have a lot going on around this moon, but I'm going to talk about the most important highlights. The new moon and the sun are both squaring Pluto, which is the planet that naturally rules, the modern ruler of Scorpio, along with Mars. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. And then the moon is also squaring Mars, which is in Leo. Mars in Leo is all about letting the inner child come out and play. You want to be on this path of exploring, discovering, being out, engaging, socializing, being in your creative exuberance, being in your creative self-expression, being in your courageousness, leading yourself forward in that path of heart. But this square, and then there's an opposition with Pluto and Mars as well, meaning Pluto is directly across from Mars and they're both squaring the moon. What that says to me is that all the things I just mentioned about Mars in Leo, yes, do those things, but in alignment with what feeds meaning and purpose, not just being superficially reckless. This is not superficial surface energy. In fact, people who are operating on that more surface, superficial level are going to have the toughest times right now, because this is a time where we're all being guided to really reach the inner depth of our soul and pay attention to what our guidance is. And the reason for that is because whatever that deep inner soul guidance is directly connected to what our unique karma, dharma, life path is. Now, another thing that I want to talk about here is the tarot cards that are connected to Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. Mars is at 4 degrees of Leo right now, so it's in that first decan of Leo. And the tarot card that represents that is the Five of Wands. Now, the Five of Wands in the tarot typically depicts a competitive dynamic, but it's almost more like being in competition with yourself for the sake of honing skills that ultimately enable you to grow and develop and lead yourself forward in alignment with what your soul passions are, because that is what the suit of wands represents. So It is a call for creative self-assertion, which is really a perfect example of Mars in Leo. We have to be willing to put ourselves out there and initiate change. Change is not going to just come knocking on our doors, right? And the other tool that we have to work with this is connected to Pluto, the planet of transformation, evolution, empowerment, in the sign of Aquarius, which is the archetype of the dreamer and the visionary. This archetype is aligned with what the themes of this new moon are in regard to illumination leading to awareness. We're dreaming in new possibilities. We're not analyzing the past and presuming more of the same. We're being in our creative imagination, our creative innovation, our visionariness, our dreamer self. And that is what's giving us the way forward. So Pluto right now is at 3 degrees and like 45 minutes of Aquarius. That first decan of Aquarius is connected to the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords typically represents the egoic, self-centered, self-righteous aspect of ourselves. So that's what to look out for. Where are you consciously or unconsciously being in your ego? Where are you more concerned about being right than being in your alignment? And the gift that comes with this is that the Five of Swords tarot card relates to the planet Venus, which goes back to the ruler of what this new moon is. Ultimately, being in our heart is the way forward through these times. That big push-pull thing really is very much about soul-centered versus ego-centered. Shamanically, the teaching is we want to be really centered in our heart and let our heart's truth be what the mind works towards for us, rather than us just being unconsciously enslaved to the whims of the mind and all of the different directions it can go in. We stay centered on this is the truth of my heart, and I'm working with my mind to bring that into manifestation, to bring those things into being. Now the magic. New moon magic of manifestation. And I've said this before, manifestation is not so much a practice that we do as much as it is an energy that we embody. Embodying being in your mind, body, spirit flow state, embodying the energy of thinking about the possibilities of what can go right rather than worrying about what can go wrong is a really good way to bring you into that flow state. It's when we are in our own inner harmony, balanced self, that things naturally manifest around us based on what our soul intention is, because we're in the energy that's conducive to it. So this new moon is bringing us all kinds of wisdom teachings along those lines. Just a few other things I'm going to talk about. We have Neptune, which is in Aries, that archetype of the spiritual warrior, making a sextile aspect to Pluto, which is a beneficial, harmonious energy, right? So it's when you can be in your spiritual warrior nature, meaning I'm dedicated to being on the path of embodying my full potential in this lifetime. and then Pluto is assisting that in that realm of transformation. I do want to say this. I forgot to say this. I should have said this at the beginning. We have all planets direct right now. After many, many months of various retrogrades of the personal planets, the personal planets are the planets that are closest to the sun. So that's Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And these are the ones that are connected to our thinking, our feeling, and our action in life. And then the outer planets are more connected to generational, collective, psycho-spiritual nature of things. So I'm just mentioning that the inner planets, the personal planets, we've got like a few months here of directness, which is definitely going to be helpful in us feeling like we can make headway forward in regard to what our intentions are for this year. But Pluto does go retrograde on May 4th. And it's going to stay retrograde until mid-October of this year. So again, this is more of a collective influence in our evolutionary journey, our transformational journey. This energy is very conducive to revealing hidden truths, especially because this is one of the other things I wanted to talk about. Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, is about hidden truths being revealed. And Pluto is making a trine aspect to that. And what I feel for that, it's like truths within ourselves. This is connected to things that we previously were not aware of or unconscious of. Suddenly we have some type of conscious awareness or understanding of these things, which ultimately is going to help you to make headway in your empowerment, your healing journey, your life. There's also a sextile with Uranus to really all of those planets that are in Pisces right now that I mentioned earlier, in addition to Neptune. If I had to summarize, I would say staying centered in self-love is the key to really being able to maximize this positive energy of transformation, innovation, which ultimately is going to enable you to be living in your full potential. I want to know how this is all showing up for you. What planets or points do you have in Pisces, Aries, and Taurus? Because that's where the bulk of the planets are right now. And how do you feel that this is supporting you on your journey? Let me know. As always, if you would love a consultation with me, I do psychic readings, astrology readings all day, every day, and I do offer video chat sessions as well. So I'm available globally on that level. I'm going to put the links down below in the description as to how to get a hold of me. I will see you all in the next video. All my love, guys. Blessings. Namaste.